Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the F4L Headquarters Podcast. I am your host with the most, the F4L icon, Sean J. Stevens, and of course, the gentleman to my left. It's better know. Usually you see him on our show in a little bit of our cartoon form. This is the real gentleman that we feature, ladies and gentlemen. I proudly welcome back to the F4L Headquarters Podcast. This time in video, the lovely Jadon Brooks. Welcome, Jadon.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
I bet, huh? I hope so. I hope so. So for those people who don't know, Jadon has been on my show probably more than anybody, I'd have to say, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I have to say that usually whenever there's
three or four times, I'd say, I think.
Yeah, and you've been part of a lot of the watch-along events that we've been, since we've been doing the watch-along sometimes, which we'll be doing again this year some point, way down the road. And, he's always a willing participant and he loves to get in there. My son thought you were hysterical, by the way. I think you met him on the last thing, but, next time there'll be one of these versions. So now you get to see the screens. So,
oh, yeah, that'll be cool.
So, Jadon, for the people who are late to the party, who maybe aren't familiar with, the Jadon Brooks outside of our wrestling show, why don't you tell people a little bit about who you are for those people who are late to the party who might not know who you are?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Jadon, Jadon Brooks. I'm 15 years old. I own multiple businesses. I'm main one is a youth organization. We help youth become more disciplined, happier, and healthier through an online curriculum. And I have an Instagram which has gained over millions of views, and currently working on rebuilding that for fun. And yeah, I'm pretty all over the place, I'd say.
And you're a former champion on Icons of the F4L.
That's true. I gotta add that to my resume.
Yeah, you gotta add that. I mean, not everyone can say they've won championships from people, and
that's true.
You've won several titles, tag team and singles titles. Goes to show your testament to your integrity.
I'm honored.
That's good stuff. Oh, no worries, no worries. So, Jadon, we've been, like I said, I've known you for a little while here, and I've always said, tell people all the time, when you're not here, when your ears are burning, that's usually because I'm talking about you on the podcast or whatever. So I've been telling people how intelligent you are for a person your age and so forth like that. You're far above a lot of the other average 15-year-olds who are normally thinking, let's do the next TikTok dance, or, what am I can barely cook a hot dog, can't really figure out how to tie their shoes half the time or get dressed. Or when they do get dressed, it looks like they get dressed in the dark. So let me ask you this, because I don't think I've ever asked, how do you describe, how do you, decide, how do you see yourself, compared to the average 15-year-old? And
how do I see myself? You kind of lagged out for a second there.
Oh, did I? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could still kind of understand you, but I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
So
any questions, just let me know and I'll clarify it for you.
Okay. How do I see myself? I think in some ways I'd say, like, entrepreneurial wise, business wise, I think I'm pretty intelligent for my age with that. Because Parenting Possibility is doing really well right now, social media wise, things like that. But I mean, I don't really like to think of myself like above other, teenagers just because I have a business or something, So I like to take pride in everything I've done, but I also try not to just let the fact that I run a successful business, or the fact that I am able to stay consistent with what a lot of people are trying to stay consistent with. I think that doesn't make me, better than anyone in any way. But especially since I didn't figure this all out on my own. I had a lot of resources that a lot of people don't have. Like my dad, he's the one that really pushed me to learn, self-discipline, all the things that I'm now teaching on Parenting Possibilities and social media. He's the one that got me into fitness. He's basically, started all this that I'm working on and involved in now. So I really don't like to think of myself better, because I had a lot more resources than a lot of people, and I'm willing to admit that. So Yeah,
Makes sense. And also, granted, I get the humbleness, and that's a good thing too, to have that humble personality. I'm not better than, and I'm not saying
yeah,
necessarily, because everyone's got different goals and different mindsets anyway, but for the fact that
100%.
generally most 15-year-olds, let's face it, you've been doing this long before you were 15, this business. You've been an entrepreneur longer than, when did you start Parental Possibilities? When you were 13, 14?
Well, Parenting Possibilities, we actually just crossed our 1 year anniversary for when we started, which is, I believe it was February 11th of last year is when we started.
So
But
that's,
yeah, I've been an entrepreneur since like very, very young. And I've just
so,
always been taught that's the best way.
and so first and foremost, since, judging by the fact that, not judging, but looking back at the fact that, you're 15 already and you've been doing this entrepreneur stuff since you were very young, that speaks to the fact that that sets you different than a lot of the average, 9-year-olds, 10, 11, 12-year-olds who aren't even thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Most kids are barely tying their
Yeah,
shoes.
that's
It,
true.
you have a very good podcast, by the way. I've listened to,
Thank you.
is it 2 episodes you got right now?
Well, we have, I believe, yeah, fifth episode's coming out this week, and
Cool.
we are. The first episode was kind of a test. We filmed that months and months ago, but
Right,
now
right.
we're really starting to ramp it up and take it seriously. Start posting clips, and just we
Sure.
really want to expand our social media presence.
You're doing really good with it. I've listened to a lot of the event, first few shows. I think I thought I listened to all of them. They're very short and concise, which is a good thing sometimes. Sometimes it's not about quantity,
Yeah,
but quality, right? It's not about how
true.
much you put out, it's about what you put out. And I can relate to the fact that, you're, developing things like businesses and a mindset and a future for yourself, more than everyone else. I did that myself. And sometimes you got to look at yourself and, figure out what you want in life. And you said that in your podcast about, you got to figure out what it is that you want and why is the things that you
Definitely.
want, why you want. And you're absolutely right. That is exactly how you motivate yourself. And that's the best way to keep yourself motivated. And the only way
Yeah.
you're really going to get it to do it is if you just kind of do it. Don't make excuses and don't put it off. Just if you're going to commit to something, just do it.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
you said that on your podcast, and I say that all the time. Don't talk about what you're going to do it.
yes, definitely.
Kind of like in the we've talked before about my I'm a goal oriented individual. I always set goals and I make goals, and I always you got to have your small goals to get you to the big goals, and goals have been very helpful for myself. And it sounds like for yourself, you have a similar kind of a mindset. You set a goal and you work for it. How do you know for yourself when you've reached your goal?
Um, hmm.
And are you ever like, okay, I met my goal, so I'm going to stop here and just kind of move on to something else? Or do you just kind of adapt that goal?
Well, I am one that I'm the type of person that will like I don't want to say never satisfied, but like I don't want to just reach an end goal and then just stop pursuing more, you know?
Hmm.
I want to always keep, no matter like how successful or how experienced at something I get, I still want to become better as much as I can.
Absolutely.
And it's like, yeah, I might take like if I hit a goal, then I might, celebrate a little bit maybe, but I'll still at the end of the day, I'll still come back and try to improve, keep going further and make more progress. Cause that's for me, this sounds weird, but I think the thing that brings me like most fulfillment in life is just making progress. It's not the actual, like if the goal was to make money, the fulfillment for me is not the money. It's the process of making money and the success and the
Exactly.
dopamine you get from when you actually do make the money, you know?
Ah, there's that
So
word
Mm.
dopamine. I love it. Great use.
but yeah, I think so. I'm not one that would like just reach a goal and then just stop. I love the process of pursuing goals, and
Mm.
yeah.
Now, what have you seen in your kind of time so far that has kind of, have there ever been a goal that you've started working towards that you said, like, you know what, this isn't for me, or I'm going to change my vision? Have you ever had that so far, or?
Yeah, I've definitely had that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you think I used to when I was really little, a big dream of mine was to be like a YouTuber. It's like if I had the extra time, like, okay, that'd be fun, but it's like it's nowhere near my top priority right now. I have an old channel that has probably almost 200 videos on it. I would sometimes upload 5 times a day just because I was so like obsessed almost. That was like years and years ago. But it's like that was an old dream that I just kind of like not grew tired of, just outgrew, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then let's see. And then I pick up a lot of random hobbies. So like example for I used to want to be a basketball player at one point, and then a yo-yoer, like do yo-yo
Yo.
tricks. But the ton of the random things like that, but at the end of the day, my main goal is to just inspire and help others and live a life that's worth living for me while I pursue that.
Well, if that's not the most F4L thing I've ever heard, that's pretty much what is right on the money. So good stuff. Great representation right there, folks. Right there. So now, Jadon, you've been one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and you talked a little bit about in your episode with one of those people who may or may not be part of our new show on YouTube. One of the people who might be joining you in your endeavors on our icons of the F4L. And that episode you talked about mental health and how that is, how you kind of approach things and stuff like that. I was wondering, here on this show, we're very component, and we try to do our best to kind of, we don't judge people who have those things. And I think that everyone goes through their own set of mental health. And I think it's up to individuals how they deal with those things. So I'm wondering if you don't mind, if talking a little bit about like your experience with it and how do you kind of approach it and stuff like that a little bit further for this audience.
Well, mental health, there's so much to it, because the thing is, like, you can say math is like, if you do 2 + 2, you're always going to get 4. But if you have a person and they go through the exact same things as another person, it's not always the same result. Like you could have a dad who was an alcoholic, so the son could be an alcoholic, or he could be someone who hates alcohol, or things like that. It can always end up with different results. So I try to give very like broad advice that can apply to anyone. Like working out, like that's obviously like everyone should work out. That's not something that only applies to a small portion of people. It's something that, like, unless you have some sort of disability or limiting factor like that, I think everyone should work out. So I try to give broad advice so it doesn't exclude everyone or get anyone on the wrong track, things like that. As for my experience with mental health, I think everyone goes through different mental health challenges and sees it differently than some people will. Like, it's hard to explain, but I think I've definitely had mental health challenges in the past, like sadness and stuff like that.
Depression?
What'd you say?
Are you saying depression? Or because there's a difference between being overly sad and then depression, and also a sense of withdrawal and so forth. Those things can happen.
I wouldn't know if I would use that word, but something similar at least to that, because I'm not an expert or anything in that. So I don't know if I would say that, but it could be, but I think everyone goes through mental health challenges, and it's just, for me, it's just trying to figure out, okay, what's the most practical, logical way to help other people solve this and help myself also in the same time having success with it.
Now, out of curiosity, so luckily for me, I have a degree in the situation, so I know a little bit more than some other people do. But because taking things into account and whatever else. But as far as what you talked about is you see the effects on someone who is maybe an alcoholic or an addict, and then you can either choose to be an addict yourself, and people can use that as a kind of a crutch kind of a thing, where, oh well, they're an alcoholic, so I'm an alcoholic. Or you can have that self-discipline where you can see the effects on those things and say, you know what, that's not for me. If that's you, that's you. I'm not going to do that. 100%. And I that's actually how the F4L started, because I saw that I didn't like any of these things around me. I was this is all of how this is, and I challenged that. I said, that's not acceptable, that's not what I'm about, that's not what I'm going to be. So
Yeah,
I digress from all of those things. I saw the effects of drug, alcohol, smoking, and all those things, and that's why I choose not to do those things. Um,
definitely.
I'm
I
clearly
relate to that a lot in certain ways.
sure.
So
I mean, a lot of people participate in a lot of different things. I don't judge everybody. Everyone likes to do their own thing to kind of make themselves feel better. Um,
mhm,
like a lot of people like to use various different other, chemical types of things to try to control some of those, those conflicts they might have, those struggles, the depression or the anxiety or whatever, and they tend to use some type of crutch, whether it be a medical type of thing or even something like a marijuana, which is now acceptable across everywhere.
yeah,
And a lot of people are quick to say, well, this is a crutch and this is natural and this is healthy. Well, granted, that helps you in the moment. But my biggest thing about it is, well, what happens after the high is gone? What do you do about it
exactly.
then? Because unless you fix whatever the issue is that is hurting you inside, whatever you're dealing with, the depression, the anxiety, if you're not finding out a better solution to do that, then you're going to just be smoking marijuana all day, and that's not going to get you anywhere except for probably broke, because I would imagine it's pretty expensive.
I couldn't have
And
said it better myself. I totally agree with everything you just said. People, that's how a lot of people's like addictions to certain things form, like you said, marijuana, alcohol, or electronics now, uh
good
all
point.
sorts of things like that. People just are seeking cheap dopamine like that instead of actually going out, doing the work, and learning how to get like real dopamine and feel good about yourself and things like that. So
Right. And what you're talking about is actually accurate. I mean, when you're going out and you're working out and you see the results of the physical effects of what your results are working out and staying healthy, that should be a dopamine for most people. But then
definitely.
there's those other people who are looking, do you know what body dysmorphia is?
Oh yeah, yes, I do.
I do too, all too well, and I am one of those people who have to deal with that because
Yeah.
I was a skinny, scrawny, short little kid growing up, and I was always someone who, looked in my mirror. I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. You can see my ribs. I was a picky eater, and I said, you know what, I got to fix this for myself. I'm not happy with this, and I'm going to do something about it, rather than me just kind of sit there and complain. Oh no, this is. So that's when
Yeah.
I hit the gym, and I got in really good shape, and I was almost in the gym almost day and night up until the time I was injured, and I wasn't allowed to go to the gym, which, when you get into that mindset and you're so used to going to a gym and you go used to the process, and then, medical reasons, your doctor says you're not allowed to work out because I was heavy duty into the gym. We called ourselves gym rats. So basically, we would
Mhm.
work out. We'd go to the gym and lift weights and push ourselves, and then what would end up, we'd push ourselves so much. Some guys would get sick. I didn't get sick
Oh
because I knew when to kind of slow it down. That I didn't get that far, but I was always in the gym, and I was always in shape. And then going for different. Now in high school, I was a tri-sport, which meant I did three different sports. And one of the conflicts I had was between soccer and wrestling, because high school, Greco and Roman wrestling, which is a little different than
mhm.
what I do, professionally, whatever else. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
Um, but soccer is about running nonstop. A lot of people will look at soccer, like a lot of the people like, oh, soccer's a girl sport or a weak sport or whatever. I find most of
Yep.
the time that's people who have never played.
That's
Just
true.
like the people who will say, well, you clearly don't go to the gym a lot, or you're scrawny and whatever else, when they've never even lifted a dumbbell. I'm sure you've dealt with that, with
Hmm.
people telling you,
Definitely.
what are you doing, and whatever else. And I think the difference is, and the proof of the magnitude is that you're in healthy shape. Granted, I'm a lot more in shape than a lot of people think I am. My cholesterol level is fantastic. My everything else is really good, athletic wise. I could run. I have more endurance than most people 7 times older than me or younger than me.
Wow.
I can play. You talked about basketball. Not even a week ago, I was playing basketball locally with some with my son and a bunch of locals getting ready for our charity game. We're playing with a bunch of other celebrities and so forth like that for Dana-Farber Institute and the Jimmy Fund. Well, while we're doing that, we were playing with these local, and people kind of started quitting, and I was ready to go for the next round. I was ready to keep going. 5 hours in, I'm still playing basketball.
Wow.
And still running up and down the court, full court. So a lot of people would look at someone like, myself and say, well, whatever. But you're familiar with the term muscle memory, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So sometimes you can feel those things. You might look a certain way, but your muscles know how to work. They know how to get to point A to point B. So you never really lose that. My endurance level, my cholesterol level, my heart rate, spot on. And I've also lost quite a bit getting ready for everything else I'm doing. So, but
congratulations. That's awesome.
No worries. It's just what it is, right? We all work on our own individual goals. And I think a lot of the times a lot of individuals will lack that self-confidence, right? And like myself, when I look in the mirror, I still am disapproved, even though everyone around me says, well, you're in great shape. I am still unhappy because I was not allowed to go to a gym for a while. And automatically I'm already not happy about it. And just that's kind of that self-critical thing that we do, right? When we look at ourselves, we're like, you know what, everyone else might say I'm in great shape. Like, for example, I say you're in pretty solid shape right now, but you might look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm not anywhere near where I need to be. Am I right?
I get that a lot.
So
I definitely understand that.
Because you're about the size I was when I was 15. I was that person. So I get that absolutely. So
yeah.
All right. So what is it exactly? So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the parental possibilities.
Well, it was actually I believe it was mainly my dad's idea, actually. So how it happened is Connor, who actually he was over at my house one night, and we were our dad came upstairs or something, and he was like, he knows Connor's also into discipline and working out, things like that. So we came to this meeting sort of thing, and he was like, oh yeah, I wanted to start a company with you guys, and we'll help kids become more disciplined, happier, and healthier. And I was like, that sounds awesome to me. And Connor's like, oh yeah, sure. And then we had to get permission from his parents, and then Lincoln also, he was there, so he obviously said yes. And then yeah, I mean, basically that's just how it started. Then we started going through different courses, people like Grant Cardone. Let's see who else. There's other people, but I'm trying to think of their name. Anyway, one of my dad's friends, eventually he came, and his name is Dakota. He's an expert in door-to-door sales, all sorts of different types of sales trainings. So he came, and he was teaching us about how to sell and how to have a way with words, which I'm still definitely working on, but I've came a long way since he started helping us.
I think you're doing fine.
Anyway, we went out, and so we created the challenge. We did all these things, and then he flew out, and we went door to door, and it was a huge success. So that's a summarized version of how it started. So
that's good stuff. And I think what's important and interesting is how you can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sweet. I think what's awesome is the fact that, the networking thing, learn, who you're surrounding yourself with. Obviously, your brother, and he's easy to get a hold of, and, someone you can, bat things off of. And your brother, by the way, sounds like he is just as intelligent as you are. So great stuff right there. That's not something that's common that, I don't know what the age difference is, but it's just almost as, well with his words as you are. So that's good stuff.
I'm sure he appreciates that. I'll tell him he said that after once he gets back.
I'm sure. Now, a lot of people are probably going to wonder. It's 12:34 right now. I know the answer, but maybe you can let people know why so clearly it is 12:34, and most people who are 15 would be, quote, in school. Want to explain to people kind of your takes on that?
Yeah, so I'm actually homeschooled, so that's why I'm home for anyone wondering. Uh, the main reason I'm homeschooled is like we were in a normal school like 2, 3 years ago maybe, and I just I hate school if I'm being honest. It's terrible, but so I just like would like basically constantly just ask my dad, can we do homeschool, can we do homeschool, because I knew if we could do homeschool I could work off my own schedule. I could if I could get it done all in the first hour of the day, then I have the rest of the day to work on business, to practice sales, to and do whatever I want. I can go outside, I can go on walks, do literally anything if I just get it done as fast as possible. So then basically after a lot of convincing, he like after a while he considered it, and then we switched. And right now it's super helpful because I can have way more time to work on my business, and in fact like working on the way we do homeschooling and stuff like that, the way uh like working on your business and learning all these sales and all this thing can actually count towards school. So I think homeschool is much better than normal school in my opinion, but
You're not alone.
well, for
Y-
most people at least.
Yeah, you're not alone on that. I know a lot of people who do the homeschool thing. It works for some people. It's some people,
Definitely.
there's less distractions, less competition, less antics, less drama, which
Yeah.
I don't blame you there. I wish I had that option. I would have loved to have avoided drama.
Yeah.
But in the long run of things, that's kind of the norm these days anyway. A lot of people decided, even after the whatever they call the dark ages or whatever, everyone started going in anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't judge people. Everyone has their own different ways of doing school. As long as you're working towards that goal and you know the importance of that, I think that as long as you're getting it done, what does it matter if you're doing it at home or at school or whatever else? It's the same thing,
Exactly.
and also less distraction. As far as getting it
Exactly.
done ahead of time, that's a great lesson for a lot of people. A lot of people, I know for myself, where I went, I was, playing sports, so I'd come home from school, and by the time I got home from school, I had, after sports practices, the various sports that I had, and they were all long, and then I went to the gym, so that was a long time. But then you were like, well, how do you fit your schoolwork in? Well, it's easy. There's lunchtime, and there's coming to and from, and I just get it done before I even got to the field. My homework was done. If I
Mm,
was given homework, in math class, it was already done before. If I have a study, which we were lucky enough to have, or if I had lunch, I just do it all there. It's 30 minutes lunch normally, and there's a lot you can do in 30 minutes. Just people don't have that kind of drive.
definitely.
And then when I come home, if anything is not done, that's when I bang out anything else. A lot of the
Hmm.
times in high school, I did a lot of extracurricular writing. So I did a lot of research papers, and I did a lot of in-depth writing styles, which a lot of people are not looking to do extra work in school.
Yeah.
I like to educate and also learn myself. And I wrote some things, and that may or may not have gotten me in trouble for some of the things that I wrote, because even though I did everything like I was supposed to, I did the research, yeah, I kind of, spilled the beans on Christopher Columbus and things like that. So, you know, so I may or may not have gotten a talking to for saying my beliefs about Christopher Columbus, even though it's all kind of, if people who actually did the research on it would actually find out more
Yeah.
about the subject. And I don't know how much of it you know. I hope you don't know too much, but let's just say that, things we're always taught in school are not always as they are. So just kind of take some things with a
That's
grain
very
of
true.
salt,
That's so true.
because, they mean well. It's just some things may or may not have been, it's kind of like getting a synopsis version of something else, or an alternate
Hmm.
version, if you would. Kind of one of those deals.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that like put the blame on like the teachers and stuff for teaching them like things that either they won't need or like that's not true or things like that. But it's like it's not their fault at all. They have
Right,
no control over what they have to teach you, or they're literally gonna lose their job. So I
right. It's
think,
curriculum, right.
yeah, exactly. So
And it's the same curriculum everywhere. Like where you are, I'm sure you learned about Christopher Columbus. And
mhm.
where I was, I always learned about Christopher Columbus. I'm sure both versions are similar. You know, what is it, 1692, Columbus wrote and sailed the ocean blue. And then you do research and you find out, well, yeah, he did. He just ended up in Bermuda and he went nowhere near the United States. And the fact that there were already people here and that he wasn't the first person, one of those explorers to come here. But that's the
Yeah,
part they leave out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, we'll tell you that he came to America, and Bermuda, I guess, is recognized as part of America, I guess, but it's not a state to my knowledge. Last I checked, there's only still 50 states to my knowledge. I could be wrong.
I
Otherwise, the
think so.
flag would be way out of whack. So I don't know. But that's good stuff. That's good that you can actually recognize things like that as well. And, you know, being from your perspective, I can understand that. What is it like as far as dealing with kids your age, though? Like, were you interacting with kids your age? Because, you know, you talked about how, like, I know you don't want to compare yourself to others who are the same age as you, but do you get along with the average 15-year-old who are not into all of the things that you are? Or do you prefer, or are you more apt to hang around with people who are a little bit more goal oriented and have a little bit of more of a head on their shoulders kind of a thing? Who can still have
Yeah,
fun?
so I'm very like, I don't want to say protective, but like very cautious about who I like let in my circle, basically. And I
That's
think
smart.
that's the best way to put it. Like
Small circles.
I'll be friendly to like, oh, what did you say?
Small circles.
Definitely. So I'll be like very cautious about who I like actually let into my, personal circle. So I'll still like be friendly, obviously, and respect everyone who is like not someone who I want to hang around, but it's still like you could say like the average 15-year-old, like, no, I wouldn't let them into my circle, most of them. But it's like I still respect them and obviously be polite and just, you know, talk normally and instead of just like shaming them or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, so I Connor's probably the Connor's definitely the best person, like most goal oriented, productive, like I don't know, best person that I found in person that I want to, hang around. And he's basically my only friend actually, because I had other friends, but it's like I don't really hang around them like I do, like they're not real friends.
I get it.
So I really try to keep my circle very, very small
I mean,
and
you need to. That's a smart way to be. That's
definitely.
very smart. And that's true because actually, you probably didn't hear it, but yesterday I did a live and I talked about the importance of your circles and who you associate with and how many people are actually your friends versus how many people are just kind of
Yeah,
there or how many people are just there because of clout for themselves.
definitely.
You know, I've said before the title, what I version of a real friend is someone who, you know, the old saying that my kids could probably recite in their sleep is real friends don't kick you when you're down, they help you up. That's a very broad, easy saying, but it has a lot of meaning in that. But
Definitely.
when you look around, like a lot of people say, well, I have all these friends. Like you look at people who say follow you on Instagram, whatever, and the delusion is all these people are my friends. A lot of people can believe that. These people are my friends. They care about me. They like me. But when you really get down to the thick of it, when it really comes down to how many of those people, you know, will reach out and say, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And actually care about, you know, the person themselves versus someone who's one of the many creeps out there in the world, but there's a lot of those on there too. And the
Yeah,
people who are just there to kind of treat you more like a number and, you know, whatnot. Does that make sense?
definitely makes sense. I didn't really fall into that, but I still like consciously I knew like these people, like I've never met half of them. I've never talked to any of them. It's like, so yeah, with the follower count thing, it's like I didn't fall into that trap consciously, but anytime I'd see it go down, it kind of hurt me like inside. And yeah, it's a weird thing, man. It's weird.
I can understand that because at some point, like for myself, I mean, I clearly am not on Instagram to be famous. I already have
Mhm.
accomplished a lot of that on my own without
Yeah,
having to use Instagram or whatever. And as far as YouTube, you talked about that was like when your first goals, right? A lot of people, when I tell them, well, I was one of the original YouTube people because I was on YouTube before a lot of people were. And
Mhm.
that was because the wrestling company at the time, saw that there was some clout, this YouTube thing that was coming. And a lot of my early promos or the videos would be up on YouTube. The mock workout videos of Jazz Fitness were all on YouTube. And a lot of that time, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the people who started on YouTube with me along in the early days, none of them are really doing YouTube as much as they were. And then we look at the effects. A lot of people like to compare themselves to the quote, the YouTube people they want to base themselves on, like the Logan Pauls or the Jake
Oh yeah.
Pauls or the Justin Biebers of the world. How many people, I
Yeah.
mean, I know granted your goal and vision isn't to sing, but how many people have you seen in your feed who like to sing and they, say that Justin Bieber is their hero?
Mhm.
But then you look at kind of where Justin Bieber fell into the thing, right? Because you're right, he did become a huge YouTube star and he did become, this big pop culture thing. And then look at the result of that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, when you were saying on your podcast about knowing what it is that you want and why is that important to you, I think it's important to realize that when you accomplish those things are the cause and effects of those things, right? I've said that
Yeah,
many times on my show
definitely.
about, for example, the person who wants to be a huge, movie star or a celebrity, right? You want that until you get that. It's
That's
good,
true.
nice. It's, everyone wants to have everyone know who they are, but do you really, when you go out to get a drink, are you really going to want to, if you wear something that doesn't match and it's all over the news saying how Jadon Brooks or Jazz Fitness or, doesn't look like they know how to dress themselves, because that's how that works.
Yeah,
or you're riding your bike and you fall off your bike and then the news media is right there. Oh, Jadon Brooks crashed his bike again. You know what I mean? People
yeah,
like to get, the people who are recognizing like the dangers of kind of becoming what they wanted to be. Like you're probably familiar with a lot of the I don't know how much TV you watch, but you've probably heard of Stranger Things, right?
I've heard of it. I've
On
never
Netflix.
watched it.
Neither have I. Fun fact, I do watch a lot of things because I kind of have to, but I don't watch a lot of Stranger Things. I do know a lot of the people in it um, through various
Hmm.
different medias and so forth. And one of the things that happened is people like Finn Wolfhard, for example, who almost everybody knows who he is now. He was, of course, on Stranger Things. He was in Penny. He was in It and things like that, right?
Yeah.
He imagine being, you're 15 now. He was 13, and he would come home after filming Stranger Things and have strangers in his garage, fans waiting for him when he
Oh
got
wow.
home. There was nobody
Mm,
home. They broke into his garage so he could see Finn Wolfhard, 13 years old.
that's crazy.
And then, like I said, Justin Bieber. Everyone says, "Oh, Justin Bieber is my hero. He became a singer. He went all of these big things." Yeah, well, he did. And look at Justin Bieber now. Is that really how you want to end your goal? Is that the goal you want? Would you look?
Yeah,
You're not a music guy, right?
that's
So that's a different goal. But can you understand how that works? Kind of.
definitely. That's crazy though that those people just it's crazy. People will go to so much extreme extents just to, meet like the people they admire. And it's like they have a life as well. Like
Yeah,
they want privacy, they want uh to have their own life. They want a lot of them talk about they just wish they not never started but didn't get to the level of fame that they're at because yeah, it's some people are just insane like that.
sure, absolutely. And then the other thing that happens is, for example, my world of wrestling, right? A lot of people, for the most part, I can tell you that a lot of us are trained that we're supposed to respect our fans. And if a fan wants an autograph or a picture, we're supposed to do that because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be who we are, right?
Yeah,
So it's about respecting your fans, but also there's got to be a line there. Like
definitely.
if we're in the restroom somewhere, I don't know if that's the right time to ask for an autograph while someone's, using the lavatory. You're out
Yeah,
there washing your hands and someone wants to get an autograph from you. I don't know who would
yeah,
want to do that, but they do that. And then what happens is,
ridiculous.
One of my favorite stories about that kind of a thing is where the illusion of if you don't give the fans what they want, or you don't have kind of what, don't do what everyone else expects you to, then they kind of label you as this mean person who doesn't care about you. There's a well-known good friend of mine in wrestling. His name is Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, for those people who know that. And he's actually one of the head writers of WWE right now. He does all of the storylines. He's overseeing a lot of that for the World Wrestling Entertainment, which is a huge juggernaut of a company.
Yeah,
and he's in charge of all the production and how all of the things go. He oversees all of that. And he's been there for a long time. And he's been on TV as Brother Love and things like that. People know who he is. Well, he was going through an airport run one time because his wife was in the hospital. She was actually having an issue after having surgery due to cancer. Oh. And the hospital called her, said she had some complications at the hospital. And he was running to the airport to get to his wife, who was in the hospital, who was seriously hurt. I mean, almost, not a good thing for, anybody.
Definitely.
As he was going through the airport, people are stopping him for get autograph and pictures and things like that. As a man's trying to get to his wife who's in the hospital, he's going to an airport to get on a plane to fly to his wife in the hospital. Fans are stopping and getting wanting pictures and autographs, and he was doing that for the most part. But at one point, he's like, "No, I need to get on the hospital. I need to get on the flight. I need to go." Those people then went and said how he doesn't like his fans. He's mean. He's rude because he wouldn't take a picture with them, even though he took 7 pictures with them and signed some things already, trying to get to the airport to his wife. You know what I mean?
People have no respect for celebrity people like that, it's because they don't owe you anything, like he had somewhere to get, and it's like whether it was important or not, it's like he still has a right to,
Right. It's kind of like, goes into that whole thing is everyone wants what they think they want until they get it. And then what happens, is that, we're successful people. You're going to do big things too. And what's going to get it where, you want to avoid kind of the downfalls of all the other people who are entrepreneurs who kind of, have that overlay of them. I don't believe that's going to be you either, because you're already ahead of the game for a lot of the time. If you were to say, who would be the people who you would say who would be the people you admire, for example, like that? Because sometimes who we kind of admire and who we want to be is kind of helps us maintain, I guess, our goal and end game.
Definitely. So I would say one of my biggest inspirations is a guy called David Goggins. He is a ex-Navy SEAL. He's done insane things. He basically talks about his main thing is just discipline. You want to keep going. He's very inspirational. I don't want to spoil too much of what he's done, but he has a really amazing book, Can't Hurt Me, and Never Finished. He's definitely one of my biggest heroes that I admire, who's popular. Let's see. I sort of like this guy called Ben Shapiro as well. He teaches how to think logically, and know when something's not right. And let's see. Those are my 2 main. I'm trying to think of other ones, but those are the 2 ones that come to mind.
Would you say you're more into reading than watching television? Do you get more enjoyment out of reading something versus watching something, or no?
I'm not a huge fan of reading. I do read, but it's more for, if I'm reading, I try to read more for brain health and things like that rather than learning. I just usually, if I'm trying to learn, I'll listen to an audiobook at 2x speed so I can get through it faster, but still get the benefits. But for reading, I definitely read. I don't know if I'd say I like it more than, watching stuff, but I do my best to read quite frequently.
Now, do you watch a lot of television or modern movies or television in any way? Because it sounds like you're a very busy individual.
I don't watch television. If I do watch something, it'll be on my phone, and most of the time it's people like David Goggins, people like Ben Shapiro, people like that. So I'm still learning things.
And then watching yourself wrestle on YouTube, right?
Of course.
Of course, watching yourself. Yeah, there you go.
The F4L. But yeah, I don't watch like normal like Netflix or anything like that. I just watch usually just YouTube. I try to still get value from it if I do. So
Smart man, smart man. So that's good stuff.
thank you.
So now let me ask you this. Now, obviously, how often do you see, you mentioned Connor and someone who you say you get along with really well and you gel with really well. How often do you see him since, I know you moved in that time frame. How often do you see him and what kind of interactions have you guys had and how is everything going as far as that goes?
I mean, I think I saw him beginning of February maybe last time. Uh, yeah, we don't. I feel like we don't really need to see each other that much to keep our friendship going because it's been like what
Right.
7 years almost now. So it's been a long time. So we can like, yeah, we don't need to see each other that constantly. I'd say we see each other probably once every 2 months on average. But
That's awesome that you say that because it's absolutely true. A lot of people have a hard time understanding that and stuff like
mhm,
that. They think that they need to be with their friends all hours of the day and they need to be
yeah,
with them all the time. And I got to tell you, that's not true. As I said before, your real friends, the ones who are your core, value, the real friends, they're like boomerangs. Doesn't matter how far they go, they'll always come back to you. And when they get back, when you're
yeah,
armed together, it's like no time is lost. These days it's
definitely.
a lot easier with social media. We can always do like the face to face type of thing, or things like this exist where you can do that. Back in the day we did things with writing back and forth.
Yeah,
And the F4L is global. We have people all over the world, and there are people who I consider F4L like yourself, who we're not next to each other, but I don't need to keep track of everything every day because I know that I can, if you need anything, I'm right there. And same thing, if I say, hey, Jaden, I got a question for you, it's only gonna be a few minutes before I get a response from Jaden Brooks. And same thing goes for a lot of my other worldwide friends all over the place. But, in the scheme of things, you don't need to have these, your friends right up on top of you. You have to spend time with them all the time. That's a delusion that people have. A real good friendship connection, it doesn't matter where you are, because you're always going to be friends no matter where you go.
definitely.
And that's the great example for you and Connor, for example. He doesn't need to be there all the time. It doesn't change the fact that you're best friends or whatever. And what's the relationship like with your brother now? How do you guys view each other, and what's that dynamic like? I am the
Uh,
oldest of four, by the way, so I know all too well about siblings.
well, my brother and I are like, it's hard to explain, but like no matter what, I think the good thing about having brothers is like no matter what, like your family and brother specifically is always going to be there for you. And it's like, well, like not a lot of people have bad, relationships with their family, but I think it's very important to try to get a good relationship with your siblings. For me, brother specifically, because they're always, if you can work together to just all go after your goals, then it's like you're always gonna be there to support each other. You're always gonna be there to move forward, to grow, so me and him have very much that. Like sometimes we'll get really mad at each other, but it's like 15 minutes, it's back to normal. It's like we don't hold like grudges or anything like that. So I'd say we have a pretty positive relationship. And I'd say, yeah, I'd say
But
we
it,
have,
but
it's like,
it's a brother relationship, and there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that. It
basically.
sounds like it's very healthy. I saw the other day on your live where you're, giving a hard time for wearing orange. That's exactly, I'm used to that in our household. That's a no, that's a common thing, and that's something
Yeah,
that is very common that anyone who's ever had a brother or a sibling, you do the same things all the time.
100%.
And sometimes we call it, in wrestling we call it ribbing, when we play jokes or give people a hard time. Some people can't take that, and that's, it is what it is. But for the most part, most people know we mean well. We're not trying to be jerks or mean.
Yeah.
It's just, sometimes you can't resist a good joke or a wise guy remark, because if it's there, what are you supposed to do? Just leave it there? if the,
definitely.
if there's a prank
My
there, you know.
yeah, my brother and I, we will like just roast each other after roast. It's like it's just part of it, you know. It's
I've
part
seen
of
some of your
having
roasts. It's very
siblings.
amusing, I gotta say. I've seen
Yeah,
I've seen you do that with Connor too.
a little bit,
The
but not
roasting.
not as much as Lincoln. Like me and my brother, there was one time I just randomly was like, we should have a rap battle just for fun, and we just both like roasted the crap out of each other just for fun. It's like
Can you
we
rap?
neither of us can rap either, but
Yeah,
it
this
was
could
fun.
rap. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
I think it's on. I don't think it's on Spotify, but it was funny. But
yeah. I mean, that's the brother code. You need to rib each other, otherwise, what are you supposed to do?
definitely.
You have to have that. My kids, I have a son and a daughter, and they give each other a hard time all the time. But on the end of the
Mm,
day, they still got each other's back no matter what. It's one of those deals.
100%.
You're true about the brother thing. And as far as the people who don't have that relationship you mentioned, this is a guy who didn't have that with his brothers and sisters. But again, when you don't have to necessarily live in the mindset that this is what I'm going to have, you can achieve and fix it by something else. That's how I started the F4L, but one of the four
Mm,
or five that started the F4L. But that was because we became a family. We said, okay, they don't get us, we'll be our own family. And we became that brother bond. So the bond that you have with Lincoln and whatever, that's the bond I have with all my brothers in the F4L. And that's how
mm.
protective I am. I will give people a hard time when I know they can handle it. Some people don't understand sarcasm sometimes, or
Oh yeah,
whatever, or sometimes I'm prone for that, or somebody
yeah.
will take something I say out of context. That happens a lot too.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Oh, I'm used to it. And
Yeah.
then being a wrestler, being a good guy is really good because you're supposed to get people to like you. And to the extent where I started out my career in wrestling as a good guy, the face, and saying nice things. And then when I got to be Jazz Fitness, I had to be a mean guy, which is odd. That Jazz Fitness would be a bad guy and Jazz Vengeance is a good guy.
Hmm.
But I got my own talk show segment called the Fitness Center, where I had to roast the audience and everybody there, and being self-aware of the fact that I don't look like a guy who should be in the fitness world, even though in reality I could probably run the ropes and do a lot of that stuff better than anybody younger and smaller than me. But the reality is that image that we're perceiving. We're trying to say that I'm an unfit fitness guru, which is very hard, by the way. And I have to say, I'm going to be posting one of the oldest videos that we had on the promos. It was called Jazzercising with Jazz Fitness. You will probably enjoy because you're a fitness guy, but you just have to understand that it's basically ribbing the fitness world, kind of an idea. Like I'm supposed to be,
Mm.
I'm a fitness guy supposedly, but yet no, I'm lifting a dumbbell with one arm at like 2 pounds. So I'm struggling, a 2 pound dumbbell, and then I'm taking a Snickers bar in the other hand. One of those deals, and it's done
Yeah.
for laughs.
Hmm.
But some of the things in that video were hard for me to do because I am actually I had to play soccer. One of the things, I can play soccer, I can play various sports, but I had to pretend not to be. And that's sometimes hard. But
Mm.
to the extent where I didn't think no one would like the character, I didn't think people would believe that I could be mean. I didn't think that people could
Oh,
believe that I could be a jerk, or that I could do all those things. But turns out I was wrong. I was actually pretty good about getting people annoyed, pretty good. When I tell people, there's some funny stories out there that are very entertaining, but yeah, let's just say that I know that now I can definitely say things that'll get people upset if I really wanted to. But
it's a good
I,
skill to have in
but
certain situations.
I usually save that for trolls, because I still do that to trolls. I will,
Oh yeah,
the trolls online. I'll sit there and really make them feel like they shouldn't
I've
have
done that
probably.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've actually done that for people who, like, when you're doing lives, or other people have done lives and things like that. I'll actually take that opportunity to take those people out from my point of view. And it's
That's
not the
funny.
person. I'm not doing it for the person who's doing the live, because I'm trying to make sure they're okay. Like the other day, doing live, and you got to be careful with the people who come on and what they're coming into.
Yeah, definitely.
There's for every one of me out there, there's always 7 of them who aren't. I want to make sure, help like yourself, I want to inspire others to go after and do the things that they can do. I am living proof that you can come from absolutely nothing and achieve everything you want to achieve. I didn't come from a lot of money. I didn't come from a loving home. I created a loving home, and I created a lot of that, and I achieved when they said I couldn't. So, and you're doing the
I
same.
think that it can help a lot of people.
Yeah, and you're doing the same thing on your own realm. You have a supportive family, which is an awesome thing, but also you have a goal mindset and you continue work on those things. And you do smart things like networking. This is kind of technically networking. This is getting your voice out there. This is giving yourself a broadened horizon. Some people say, well, coming on a podcast isn't going to help me in the long run. It's just going to come on and talking. Well, actually what it does is it gives a global audience, gets to know Jadon Brooks when they may not have heard of Jadon Brooks. Well, now, because of this show, which by the way, send me all your details. What I'll do is I'll going to add it to all of this. So when I put it up, everyone can have that, because I think it's vital stuff that you're teaching, and you're talking about fact stuff. And I think it's important for everyone, young and old, to take lessons from it.
Definitely.
And stuff like that. So, I don't want to keep you too long. I don't even know how long it is, and I don't know how long you have. And I know you have many other things you want to do today. I know you have, multiple things. So how are you doing on time? Just because I want to make sure you're good on that.
I should have, let's see. I don't really have a set time that I should get off. Probably good. At least by I'd say 1:30 should be probably the latest.
Yeah, I tried.
And then I'll also have to keep track of my phone, because since I had to join back on my phone to do the camera, I have to keep track of the battery. So
yeah, understand. We all have that issues too. I get that. So no, that's cool. We're not gonna take you all day. Don't worry about that. Just want to keep track of things. So one of the things, I know you're a nature guy. You like to go in do a lot of the going into the woods and stuff like that. How is that helpful for yourself, and how can other people kind of use those things? How is it helpful for you in general?
I think nature is a good reset button, if that makes sense. So if you're been stuck inside all day, if you're not feeling great, the outside, the fresh air, all those things are always gonna be there, kind of. And it's a lot of fun once you learn how to have fun in nature. It's very good, and it's a great reset button for me, at least for me. So yeah, that's how it's helpful in my life.
I agree with that. I've always, we've had conversations about nature, and I am a huge component in hiking in the woods and I love animals in general. Animals are awesome. I think there's a lot of lessons we can learn from animals, but also just nature itself. It's right there. You don't have to, water is a resource. We can drink water. A lot of people feel the need to, look for other things, but water is right there. Air is there. I think it's interesting that nowadays people are getting into the whole, we've talked before about going for the cold, I jump into the ocean up here in the middle of December. The water is cold for most people, and most people don't know that that's actually really good for you. They just, don't have that will to do so. So how does that help you, for example? I know you do the same thing, which I give you credit for, because a lot of people don't understand what the health benefits are.
Well, cold exposure, like cold plunges, ice baths, they're very good for your physical health. There's no question about that. I believe it helps circulation. It helps brain function. There's all sorts, and it opens up your lungs, all sorts of things like that. And I do it for physical, obviously, but I also do it for mental benefits. So there's times where I'm not wanting to jump in this freezing cold water, but if I stay in too long, could get hypothermia. I think it's you obviously don't want to do that every single day. So for me, it's huge discipline building tactic to jump in to 30-degree water and then just force yourself to stay in there for like 2 minutes.
Mhm.
That's so helpful for me when it comes to learning self-control, learning discipline, learning all those important lessons that you and I teach. Um, so that's how it helps me. It helps me,
It's
and
true.
it's again like it's a reset button, almost like nature. You can have worse headache, you can feel terrible, and then you jump into cold water. 90% of what you felt, it will be much better. You feel energized. You'll
It's true.
feel ready to go. Everything. So that's how it supports me. Like people like coffee. It's like a lot of times like cold water. There's been shown that cold water, ice baths, things like that can energize you more than the caffeine that's within coffee or pre-workout or anything like that. So it's like, and you're getting health benefits from it. So I always like to use it as a way to energize, reset, and then just build myself to be more disciplined, happier, healthier. It helps with a tons. I could talk
You
about it for hours probably because there's so much to it. But
you're 100% correct on all of it, and that's something that you're right on the head. That's exactly why we do it, and that's why it's good. A lot of people,
mhm,
one of the things I would implement to any of my workout routines is after I'm done working out, no matter what I'm working on, I would go for a swim afterwards. Because after, sometimes before too, sometimes going in for a swim before will loosen things up. But I
yeah,
definitely would go to the pool or go swimming after a workout, because that'll help loot the muscles that you just got done tearing to build, because that's how that works. All of that works when you jump into the water in the pool. It actually helps you feel better. It helps everything
yeah,
fasten quicker together. Cold swims and stuff like that, cold tubs and whatever, it's the same idea. All those muscles that you just got done punishing, really, they're going to feel a lot better when you put ice on them. That's why that
hmm,
benefit is there. And
yes,
that's one of those things that people are just kind of catching on to. So that's kind of cool that
it
some
is
people
really
know it.
cool.
Literally.
That's true.
Sorry, couldn't resist. So now one of the things I want to ask you about is you've been shark diving before, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it qualifies as shark diving, but yeah, I went to this place called Discovery Cove and they have like, people watching and they like feed the sharks. And yeah, I went in. It was pretty cool.
Because I know I've gone shark diving,
Hmm.
as we've talked about before. And one of the things I like to try to do is kind of break down the common myths about certain things. Like, everyone believes that sharks are these man-eating people. And clearly, Jadon is right in front of you, and I am also right here, and I have all my digits.
Yep.
Jadon, are you missing
Same
any
here.
fingers? Oh, he has all of his
Not
fingers
exactly.
too. So,
Yeah, I got all my fingers
okay, good. You might be missing a few
and
toes,
toes
but
for a
that,
bonus. I
oh,
also
there you
have all
go.
my feet and toes, all those things.
Okay, good. So what do you think about sharks, that people have that, because you've been in the water with them, I've been in the water with them. What do you think about it is, do you think it's more media or the hype behind what people are telling people what sharks are, or do you think it's actually just the not knowing of the sharks themselves?
Um, hmm.
It's a
I
good one,
think
right?
the media definitely is a big part of it because there's so many like Jaws, all these shark attack movies, like, and it's like, yeah, if you did get attacked by a shark, it would be possibly deadly and if not life altering, definitely. But it's like the chances of that actually happening are so slim. It's
Hmm.
like you're more likely to crash in a car like on the way to the beach than you are to actually get attacked by a shark. So it's like, yes, there is dangers, but it's so unlikely. It's like if you're willing to drive a car, there's no reason why you shouldn't be willing to get in the ocean,
Right,
because it's
exactly.
way, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. He's right. And again, take it from someone who has swam with sharks. James also swam with sharks. I'm still here, and none of them came chasing after me. I think a lot of that is the media. Now, I did want to ask you about one other thing, because I want to make sure we get this in. Recently, they're trying to ban TikTok. I know you're a social guy, and you're not anywhere close to being what a lot of these other people are, as far as that being the goal. What do you think about the whole TikTok discussion? Because I know that I know what I believe about the whole dangers of social media itself. But your perspective, being in from your demographic, your age range, what do you think about TikTok being either banned or being limited and so forth?
Well, there's a lot because there's people who have run their entire careers and businesses off of TikTok, and it's by far one of the easiest platforms to grow, to, learn about. It's probably a good starter platform to learn about social media and to grow. So I think, but the impact that it's had on the US especially has been very negative. Like you can notice, like before TikTok, like what, how long is that? 4 to 6 years, 4 to 6 years ago, I'd say. Like before that, like there was way less of this, of a lot of stuff, a lot of negativity, degeneracy, things like that. So there's definitely been a lot of negatives that have come from it. But and I wouldn't blame the US if they banned it, because also it's been proven, in you can read the terms of service, and it proves that China's like literally just taking all our data. So it makes sense why they would want to ban it, but I don't think they will, because like Joe Biden, he's the president, and the goal of a president is to stay in office. And if he were to ban a platform that billions of people use well, maybe not monthly, but billions of people use in total, I don't think that many, I don't think that would get the younger generation or whoever's on TikTok to, vote for him, or they wouldn't make everyone too happy, most people. So I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it would be a bad thing if it did, though. That's my take on it anyway.
What do you think about? I can tell you up in Mass, what they did is they made it mandatory that kids are only allowed an hour on TikTok a day. What do you think of that? Limiting the amount of time you're on TikTok.
I don't think it's that bad of a change, because like I talked about, in China they make it a goal to only promote academic, like things that will help students
Mm-hmm.
and children become better versions of themselves. And on
Absolutely.
top of that, they also only allow, and China's where TikTok was created, but they only allow the children there to use it until like 6:30 p.m. or something like that. So
Right.
they know that it's not a net positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think limiting the time that youth can spend on it is a positive move. But again, we're gonna see a lot of kids that are, angry, but also people are just gonna find loopholes and just lie about their age, which people have done for years and years. So
On this,
I don't think it's that like big of a change, because so many people again will just lie about their age. But if they can find a way to successfully import that, I might be in the supports of that. So yeah, I think I would.
awesome. And yeah, I up here they've done that, and I got to say, when you actually find out, how China does TikTok and things like that versus what Americans use it for, there's a difference between teaching someone some kind of educational purpose and then, trying to jump up 7 stairs or trying to eat some cinnamon,
Yeah.
which gets you absolutely nowhere other than the emergency room. um, you know, it's just one of those individual things. It's kind of
Definitely.
one of those things. Now, in general, what are your thoughts on social media in itself? Is it because a lot of this is becoming even more apparent that people have been talking about the effects on social media, TikTok and other things are coming to discussion, where a lot of people can link, being on social media to being depressed and things of that nature, especially young people, where they have to look at someone and be comparing something, and also the hoaxes out there, all the people out there on the various social media who claim to be one way and are clearly not anywhere close. I mean, one of the biggest examples probably is Liver King, maybe
Oh yeah.
one of
Yep.
the latest things, which
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't know, for someone like me who's been around the block a few times, who has seen a lot of things, it's not hard for me to kind of pickpocket, kind of look at little loopholes
Mm.
and say, yeah, I don't know about that one. versus, everyone else in the world who just takes everyone for face value.
100%.
One of the things I find it also interesting, like for example, I don't know how often you have to encounter it, hopefully not as much, but on say Instagram, for example, people ask various questions where if they just read your profile, they would know those things about you.
Yeah.
And because it's all right there in your profile. Look at your pictures for 15 minutes, you know who I am, what I look like. I'm looking at my pictures right now in my background. That is clearly me. And people ask me who I am. Oh, that's right there. But how often do you come across people what do you think about the social media platform as far as people pretending to be something they're not? And have you ever believed someone to, like, for example, Liver King, did you believe that he was, this natural guy just eating liver? Or were you like one of those people like, I don't know about that one?
Yeah, so I definitely did not buy basically anything Liver King said. He has some good information if you read in between the lines, but there was no way that he was natural. You can see, and there's also some pretty good evidence that he's also had ab implants. So there's so
Ab impact and everything else. You're
yeah.
100% correct.
So I think people like that uh, lie about their life. And the thing is, you have to realize social media, what people post on social media is mainly a highlight reel of like the highs of their life, the best parts, the parts that they cherish most, just to make their life look better than it actually is. And it's fine, because I think like no one's going to show like the low parts of their life. At least most people won't. So it's not a bad thing to promote the good parts of your life, but you also have to understand and take a step back that that's what basically everyone on the platform is doing. You need to take a step back and realize these people's lives aren't like living in heaven or anything. It's
Exactly.
just how they live, or it's not how they live. It's a false perception that they use to grow and gain a few numbers on a screen. So
I get you.
yeah, that's my take on fake uh things like that.
Cool. I had to ask you another question. Now, I know you're huge into fitness and things like that, and there are a lot of fitness people out there. But, and we've talked before that bodybuilding is not something you're into, not something your goal is. I'm curious what your perception is of bodybuilding. And the reason I'm asking is because I'm curious what the take is someone who wants to be in fit and good, because there's a difference between being in shape and being healthy and then wanting to become a bodybuilder. And there's no shame
Yeah.
if that's something that someone's goal is. I'm sure you know several people who are bodybuilders. I do too. What is your impression of bodybuilders being someone who's into fitness, who's not necessarily into bodybuilding itself? Unless that is something you're into, then that's a different story.
Well, I would like to like obviously get bigger and stronger, which is I guess technically like bodybuilding on your own, but I definitely wouldn't want to, go into like competing or anything. So I do want to get I definitely don't want to get to like insane like steroid level size, but I definitely want to keep improving physicality, um and just live a healthy lifestyle while still looking like something I'm proud of. And that's kind of my like goal, is just to, I don't want to go too far with it and like hop on steroids or spend tons of money on unnecessary supplements, but I still want to look healthy, or look like something I'm very proud of and you can tell put work into, but
Mhm,
still want to live a long, very healthy, practical life. So
mhm.
that's kind of my end goal, I'd say.
I get that, and that's a good goal to have. I wanted to be in shape, but my goal wasn't to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to just be in shape for myself. I was not happy about being this scrawny little guy, little kid as I
Yeah.
was. Now I'm definitely don't have that issue. Now I have the opposite. But I'm still very much healthy, and come the summertime, I'll probably, try not to go down that far because I don't want to do it for anyone but myself.
Mm,
Now,
yeah.
the when you think people like your age, people who are kind of the big names of like the youth kind of a thing, people are doing, people like Tristan Lee, will say, for an example.
Yeah.
Even though you're not, into the bodybuilding thing, I'm sure, being someone who's on social media, you've heard of Tristan Lee. And when you see someone like him, for example, versus someone who just wants to be healthy, what do you think the pros and cons of that is, and where do you see that? Like, for first and foremost, do you believe that Tristan Lee would be, quote, what is the term, natty? Do you believe that to be the case, or do you think that it's just his hard work and dedication?
Well, I don't think people like Tristan Lee, you have to realize he's not, I don't think Tristan Lee's like actually huge. He's not like insanely muscular. It's just he's ridiculously lean. So it makes his muscles pop more. So like you can see like his chest especially, uh, you could definitely achieve something like that naturally. I do think he has at least gone on some sort of steroid or some sort of thing before, because if I saw this clip of him, like he was shoulder pressing like 115 pounds dumbbells. So it's like on each side, it's like that's insane when he's only like what 130, 140 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I do think he's definitely been on something before. And especially at that body fat percentage, he's like what 4%. It's like if you can dumbbell press uh almost your entire like body weight in each hand, that's ridiculous. And like half your body weight I could see, but even at that body fat percentage is very, very difficult to achieve naturally. So I'd say he's definitely been on something before, because again, like that low body fat percentage, you have no energy, like no testosterone, no, like everything's out of balance.
Right.
And for him to be that strong when he's that lean and that light is crazy. So I don't think he's been natural this whole time, but I'm not 100% sure. I
Now,
don't follow it too closely.
you're smart, man. I don't either. I just know what I see through the grapevine and so forth. And I think one of the things, as far as my point of view, is I think when we talk about people who respect other people, or people who look up to people like a Tristan Lee, versus someone who would look up to someone who just wants to be fit like a Jadon Brooks, there's a difference there. And I wonder if for yourself, if you see someone like Tristan Lee being kind of a negative to someone who's trying to achieve things that you are.
Um, it's hard to say, because there's a lot of negatives that come with fitness social media, because like we talked about earlier, body dysmorphia, when you see perfect bodies time and after time, post after post in your feed, it's going to make you feel worse about your physique. Even if you're in the top 1%, top 0.5%, very, very, very few people are going to look even close to what like people like those insane bodybuilders and people that are on social media. A lot of them are completely enhanced on steroids, so it's very, very hard to uh or not very, very hard, very uh demotivating and very body dysmorphia causing, I guess, if you just keep viewing those type of bodies, those type of people with insane strength. So that's the negative side. And then the positive side is that it could also get you into, like, you just be like, oh, I want to get like that person. I want to do this. I want to be stronger. Then you'll start working out. And then hopefully eventually you'll realize no one is going to look like that, you know?
Right.
So I think it depends on the person that's viewing it, honestly, because some people, like we talked about earlier, people react differently. It's not like a math problem.
It's
It's
true.
like some people see that, they'll get demotivated about their physique. Some people see that and it'll motivate them to work harder, you know? So it's a lot of both, I'd say.
And I would agree with that. And I think that's an important thing. Um, I was just curious what someone who, likes to stay in shape kind of thinks of all the other, because you've done some videos on YouTube about kind of just, showing how these supposed fitness people are kind of showing how they get by, and, oh yeah, buy my protein shake and
Yeah.
whatever else. To me, I think it's interesting when, if they associate themselves with people, if you do a little research on the people, you're like, well, what are you doing there? Now, as far as that goes, have you ever, because you follow a lot of people and you get a lot of people in the fitness world, who are the people, have you ever seen something or one of these fitness people say, oh, this is just too much? You yourself, like, this is too much. This person is completely out of whack. That someone needs to expose this person, not just to expose them, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's see. I've definitely seen stuff like that. Not from most people I follow, because most of them are pretty trustworthy and very intelligent in the fitness space. But there's definitely things like that out there. I saw someone saying at one point there was they were saying don't eat in a calorie deficit, don't follow any diet because there's this device out there that you can. It was so dumb. There was this like chiropractor kind of person that was like had this roller thing, and you would just rub it back and forth all over your fat, and apparently it was supposed to cause friction and end up melting your fat. And I just laughed so hard. I was like,
like he was making pizza, like he's making pizza, like he's trying to make pizza dough.
Well, it was like it was like a rope thing, and
Yeah,
it
I
was
get
like
it.
a bunch of those kind of pizza roll things like on it, and then you would rub it back and forth. It was like it was supposed to cause friction and melt the fat. That's probably one of the dumbest things I've seen. But
Yeah, as you get older,
I
you'll
just
see more
sat
of those
there like,
gadgets
what?
and gimmicks. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
I agree.
most of
That's
those, like the ab shocker thing, things like that are not. Most of the fitness products, other than standard dumbbells, barbells, fitness equipment,
calisthenics
most,
in general.
yeah,
Very
most
underrated
things
calisthenics
in
are.
the fitness industry are just very scammy, and most people are in it for money. That's something people have to realize is you may think they put on a persona like they care about you, but a lot of them literally just do it for money, and
Actually,
they'll scam anyone in without a second thought. So
actually saw someone recently almost looked like they were using your program on YouTube recently. And they were, it looked like they were using your program where the whole making your bed, that discipline kind of a thing, because you need that.
oh
um,
yeah.
and then they went ahead, and as much as I think that's awesome and I think it's a great thing to have, they just recently, they're, I don't know, I guess they're thinking it's a smarter idea to um, follow like these other people who are known as like people who have caused damage to themselves using certain things or have been
Mm.
banned in certain competitions and things. So I'm just curious, I'm just interested if you've ever seen someone use your platform or someone's used your program. And then, I mean, granted, using your program, which is good, but if they start using your program and then they kind of, this is my program I'm going to start, but then this one's even better. How does that for yourself make you feel?
I mean, I think that's not something that happens too often, because if they stay committed, most people that will purchase our program will stay committed at least for a short period of time. And if they just stay committed for 2-3 weeks, they'll start noticing productivity increases, all sorts of things very fast. So I don't know that that's happened, because we're working on more community engagement, but lately we haven't checked in too much lately, and no one's really asked any questions lately. So we I've never seen that with my program, but there definitely are people, and I'm probably also guilty of like program hopping kind of. But yeah, just stick to one program and it'll benefit you, even if it's not like the most optimal, the most ideal. It's like if you can stick to one okay program, that's going to be much better than if you program hop to 20 different things. Like Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has thrown 1,000 kicks. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times. So it's kind of like that. You want to stay consistent with one thing, even if it's not the best, the most optimal. It's far more beneficial than program hopping.
Great. And also, the whole wives' tale, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's another
Definitely.
trope about that. If something's working, which clearly it was working for him, so you should be happy that someone's using your program on YouTube. I've seen it. I recognize the program, and I said, "Oh, they're using Jadon's program, even though they're not saying Jadon's name anywhere."
Huh,
I wonder if Jadon
that's
knows they're
awesome.
using his program, but they're using your program, and it even almost
All
sound
right.
like you,
Well,
but they don't.
that's awesome that you're using it.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of cool, but then, like I said, then they um, starting to like follow people who or
Mm,
whatever they're kind of not necessarily who what you're about. So
yeah.
interesting things there. Um, so what do you think of? I don't know. What am I trying to think here? So you're trying to relax at the end of the day. You want to kind of, wrap up your time. What does Jaden Brooks do to relax when he's not trying to either make the world a better place or try to make more money or become something else? What does Jaden Brooks do just to relax? And does he know what that is? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't always know what relaxing is either. So if you could tell me what relaxing is, maybe that would help.
Let's see. A lot of times I like music, which I'll just sit and like listen to music and just like think to myself or, visualize about the future. Things like that. I find it sounds weird, but it's almost like addicting sometimes. Like just sit back and just think about not necessarily the future, but like ideal situations, things you want to happen. That's a big thing. Like I'll just, and then juggling, a big thing. I like to just do that to work the brain, and still it's pretty fun for me. So
Juggling.
um yeah. And then let's see. Uh Other than that, I mean, sometimes I'll watch YouTube, sometimes like the F4L obviously. And then
It is good
sometimes
for a
like
laugh. It is good for a little bit of a brain, a little time thing. Yeah.
definitely. And then yeah, I mean, sometimes it depends a lot, but those are probably two main things. Just listen to music, juggle, maybe uh like reply to Instagram messages like when I'm really bored. But yeah, things like that.
Yeah, right. How annoying does that get when you have to answer the same question over and over again? Or are you just kind of like, can we have a different question, please? Just something different. Or are you like,
it's
whatever?
it's not like super annoying, but like uh it's a tad bit like, I'm
Tedious?
trying to figure out the word, but it's like if I'm doing a live stream and someone, if I could repeatedly get asked, how old are you? What do you weigh? Like 15 times. It's like, it doesn't only get repetitive for me. It's like the other people watching who have other questions. They're like, bro, we've already heard this answer 14, 14 different times. So it's like, I think it doesn't really annoy me that much, but it's still, it's kind of funny sometimes, but
I get that.
especially if it's like, how old are you? Like in an Instagram DM, it's like, it takes me 0.1 seconds to respond. Just type 15 and send. But it doesn't it doesn't bother me that much, but it's kind of funny sometimes.
Because I know for myself, like people who find out I'm in wrestling will ask the same 7 questions all the time, which I'm used to. I answer them all the time, but
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, can I have a different question? Just something different, something I've not heard asked 1,000 times. I mean,
Yeah,
is
it's
wrestling
like if you
fake? Is it real? Is it fake? Do you know so and so? These kinds of things.
yeah, it's like if you're trying to get to know someone, uh get to get someone's attention, get someone to respond to you. Something I've learned a lot is, if you want to get someone's attention, you should just ask a not a normal question, the opposite of a normal question, a
Hmm.
unique question. Like most people will be like, "Oh, how are you?" Blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I have a lot of trouble with that too. But if you can, just ask a random question, like slide in someone DMs, be like, "Do you believe in time travel?" Just something random like that. You'll get way more responses to someone that you want to talk to, rather than uh if you like if you just say like, how are you, what are you up to. Like, I'm definitely guilty of boring questions, and it doesn't get results with any type of networking, any type of getting to know someone. So
It takes time to get used to that, though. You learn,
100%.
you kind of
Yeah,
learn that, you know, you're young still, you'll learn. You'll get to be my level eventually. You'll be asking everybody everything.
definitely.
And then you'll
I
be
hope so.
used to getting all the answers too. You'll have all the answers to all the questions that they'll ask that you won't even be prepared for if they happen. Let's see. So does Jaden Brooks believe in ghosts?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it's definitely, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Now that's a
uh,
random question, so I was giving you a random question
well, thank you.
out of
But
nowhere, right?
it's yeah, I don't really know. I don't have like much proof. It's kind of hard to prove, but I'd say definitely there's some sort of spirits and stuff out
Mm.
there, you know.
Do you think there's a difference between believing in ghosts and believing like UFOs or like the Bigfoot, for example? Is there a difference between those three things?
I think Bigfoot, I don't really know that much about. I don't know. I think Bigfoot is probably more just of a,
Folklore?
yeah, something like that. And then UFOs, I'd say that's interesting because there's so many like different sightings, and it's like, okay, there's obviously not every sighting is a complete lie. It's like some people had to at least have seen something, and then so I think like someone is trying to work to hide UFOs maybe a little bit from us, but who knows? Like there's anything is possible really. So
Mhm.
if we can't disprove it, then or if we can't, if there's not 100% proof that, oh my god, let me rethink that. There's not 100% proof that something's not real, like, and until you can find that 100% proof that's like you can't disprove it, and that's definitely could be out there, you know.
That's
So
very true. That's a very true statement. You mentioned you played basketball. What other sports does Jaden Brooks like other than whatever he does, whatever, other than working out in the gym? What other sports does Jaden Brooks like to do?
boxing is sort of one, like I would like to maybe do, I don't know if I'd like to do it competitively, but I'd like to do some sort of, boxing eventually, like with other people. Right now I just don't have, like, I just can't really do boxing with other people, um since I've got other stuff and I don't have the desire to pay for training or anything right now. So, but boxing is really fun when you can do it. And then uh, other than that, I mean, I'll play like any sports, but the main one is boxing. I love boxing.
So,
So,
so what about, let me ask you about I've done boxing too, which I also enjoyed boxing, but what about boxing do you like more than say any of the other martial arts or fighting styles? What about boxing stands out?
mm, I think, well, I think number one, I think everyone, well, just about everyone should learn to box. I think it's the best self defense, maybe not the best, but one of the best self defense martial arts, at least for your first one. Because the reality is, if you're not going to be wrestling and jujitsu if you get into a street fight, people, they might have a friend that can come up and stomp on your face or anything. So you don't want to be on the ground in a street fight. So boxing is very important to learn. You want to learn head work, footwork, all those things are taught in boxing. And it's just, I think the intensity of it is something I really like. Is just, okay, this person is trying to literally pound me until I pass out, and it's like if I don't move my head then he's going to succeed. So it's like you got to and then you got to figure out how to do the same thing to him. I like the thought process you have to have, and the intensity, things like that, I think are not as much in things like jujitsu or um any really other martial arts that I've found.
I get you. No, all good answers, solid answers. Added.
Thank you, thank you.
1 second. Welcome, welcome. According to my thing, I'm having a. Can you hear me? Okay, everything's good on your end.
Yep, it's a tad bit quiet, but I think that's just my phone.
Yeah, I'm also not, saying a lot yet. That's cool too. All right.
Oh,
But I don't want to keep it too long. Like I said, I want to make sure you have time to go and accomplish everything else you got today because you're a busy man, and I get that. We want to thank you for being part of the F4L headquarters podcast. Let me ask you this: since you've done the old
thank
one
you.
and you've done this one, which one do you like more?
Which what? which
So you've been on both versions of the show. You've been on the show
yes.
where you've called in and it's just been us, talking, and you've been on this form. This is a newer form. Your opinion you've had
Oh,
since coming
there.
back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just lagged out for a second, but
Okay.
you're back now.
Okay. So my question is, since you've been on the podcast before on the old form, and now we have this, which one do you prefer?
I'd say this one. I think like the body language aspect of it. It keeps you conscious of yourself, and I kind of like that. So I'd say this is pretty cool.
Cool. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. So if I say, okay,
course.
Jim, we're going to come back. What do you think it's going to look like when we have our watch along and we have 7, 9, 10 boxes up here of people watching the show together? Is that going to be fun, or do you think it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be a mess?
I think it can be executed right, and then it'll be pretty fun. And obviously you're gonna figure that out. And even if like the first one was a mess, it's like you'll eventually figure it out, obviously.
Sure.
And so I think has a lot of potential.
Do you enjoy the watch-alongs out of curiosity? Because you've been part of a couple of watch-alongs. You'll enjoy the watch-alongs. What do you get out of that? What do you like about that?
Yeah, I really like them because if there's something like I don't understand from an episode I've watched, it's like usually any questions or anything like that is explained during the watch along, and then just with other people, it's pretty good. So I like it.
It's a little bit more fun, right?
Yes.
Well, we are planning on doing that again in the next season, as I'm going to be rebuilding everyone, including yourself and your tag team partner. Did you see that whole thing, by the way? Did you see the setup for what's coming?
Not the entire thing, but I did see some of it. Yes.
Did you have? Well, if you watch the match, you'll know, because that's kind of lays into it. But so yeah, so I want to say thank you as always for being part of that. I think a lot of people get a lot of inspiration from me, because I get the emails all the time. I don't always share them a lot because timing and whatever, but I can let you know. I mean, if you heard the live I did last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, I read an email in response to a thing a while back, and you were mentioned as someone who has inspired a lot of people. Giving hope to kids who are battling cancer are looking up to Jadon Brooks as someone who they watch on our show that gives them hope. For hearing that kind of a thing, what does that do for someone like yourself to hear that you're inspiring kids in Canada, by the way? There's apparently a clinic in Canada the young man who not only defeated cancer, he beat cancer himself and now is in remission, but he goes back to the clinic and they share our show with the kids there.
Oh, wow.
Who are going through that same thing. And
that's awesome.
They're like a lot of people like yourself, being someone they get inspiration from. So what is that, when you hear things like that, how does that make you feel as someone who is inspiring kids in Canada who are battling cancer, that you're giving them hope?
That makes me feel very just proud and just happy for that they have someone like that that's there for them, kind of. And then so I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah.
Did you expect anyone would ever say, well, this video game version of myself is going to inspire kids in Canada to beat cancer?
I definitely, that's not exactly something I would have expected, I don't think.
I'll be honest with you. I never expected the show to do what it does, but apparently it has, and I get the emails to prove it. Awesome. So good job, first and foremost. Thanks for being a stand-up individual, for being a person to model after people. And we look forward to Jadon coming back when we're done with everything. And of course, Jadon has homework he has to do. He knows he's got to take care of his end of things to make sure everything looks spot on, as well as his tag team partner who's coming next.
That's true.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the F4L Headquarters podcast. It's always a pleasure to
be here,
hear you and see you now. Multiple times we've done it anyway, so whatever. But it's been a pleasure. So before we go, I want to tell everyone where they can find you and how they can get involved with everything. And then what I'm going to do is, after this, and I put everything together, I'm going to link, if you can email me your little, your business card or something, I'll link it into this episode so people can see that. Okay.
All right. So if anyone wants to find me, Instagram, my username is Jadon. Brooks with 3 O's and like 2 S's on the end, I think. So pretty confusing, but just type in Jadon Brooks, and Jadon is spelled Jadon, not En. And then Parenting Possibilities, that's just Parenting Possibilities on Instagram, Facebook as well, TikTok, YouTube, all on that. And then, yeah, I mean, that's probably the main ways for someone to find me. So,
And if they wanted to find out about parental possibilities, where would they find you? Where do they find that information? Where can they get that?
so like I said, YouTube or Instagram, Parenting Possibilities. I think it's also the same handle on Facebook. And then we have a website that's linked under that. And then the podcast, we're working on getting a double link, so you can click on the link in our bio and it'll show the podcast link and the challenge link. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that
And
should
also, if
probably
you
be
need
the
any
best
help,
way.
if you need any help with that, let me know as far as your podcast goes. I have a little bit of
course. Thank you.
experience with it, not a lot, but I can help you with what I can. If you ever need anything, let me
Appreciate
know.
that.
No worries, man. Jadon, always a pleasure, man. I'm gonna let you get ready to, do your jazzy jacks and all the things that you got to do for the rest of the day, because I know that you do your jazzy jacks and things like that. So, and again, fair warning, Thursday you're probably going to see the fitness set. One of the old jazz fitness workout videos, which
Oh wow.
talk about cringe. I cringe every time I watch it, and I was in it. So,
all right.
well, the plus side is when you watch jazzercising, know that I'm, working out in my, the wrestling attire in the snow, which is awesome.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so you'll have a good laugh at that, and I look forward to hearing your response to that and seeing how that is. And when we do a watch along, we can count on Jadon Brooks taking part of this, timing permitted, yes?
Yep.
Because next time we do
should
that,
be
it's
able
gonna be
to.
like this, so we'll have 700 screens on here of all of the various people, which is gonna be interesting. How close do you think your model is to you?
I'd say it looks like a bit of an older version of me, if that makes sense.
Well, it
I'd
would
say,
have to be, considering.
yeah, definitely. But I'd say it's pretty good.
Get that. We're going to be rebuilding you again anyway, so any ideas and
That's true.
logos, send it up and we'll get you going.
Of course.
Jadon, it's been a pleasure to have you, brother. Have a great
Pleasure
day.
to be here.
Always a pleasure. You did great as always, because you're a constant professional and you're going to do big things. You're already grown quite a bit, and I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm proud of you, brother. And go enjoy the rest of your day and do
You too.
whatever Jadon Brooks does. And may all your dreams come true.
All right. Have a great day.
Peace, brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Bye.
bud. Bye. Folks, that was Jadon Brooks, the founder of Parental Possibilities. I encourage you guys all to go check out Jadon, because he's doing big things. He's making his own goals happen. He's a real life dream master. And you guys can do that too, with a little hard work, dedication, and discipline. Anything is accomplished. He's a tremendous young man. I've known him for several years. He's been on the show multiple times. And it goes to show you that he is intelligent, because he knows that spreading the word is the best way to get his name out there. And we are honored to always welcome him here. And to the other icons of the F4L, we're looking forward to more people coming back. So folks, I am the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens, saying, may all your dreams come true. And for those people who don't know, I will be in Cherry Hill, New Jersey this coming weekend for Monster Mania 53. I'll see you guys all there, and may all your dreams come true. Peace, everybody.